So in this segment, we're going to be discussing Labour kind of fumbling their own housing target and why they set this target when it was, unsustainable given the state of the UK's kind of trade sector, as in, traders in that kind of workforce, the ones that typically involved in a house building. It's just crazy to me. Like, they made a rod for their own back, really. Here you've got Raina talking about affordable housing and building more affordable housing, which I can respect as long as they can actually get this done.
Shortage of affordable homes at the moment. People say we need to build 90,000 a year, and you're not setting a target.
Well, first of all, we've put £5 billion next year and also 500 million for the Affordable Homes Programme. We've already allowed flexibility with that, so we get thousands more affordable homes on the market.
It's nowhere near enough for councils to build the number of affordable homes that the country needs, is it?
Well, we've made changes and put more funding in, and we also made sure that councils could keep their right to buy receipts in full so that they can increase their stock as well. So there's a number of measures we've taken which will mean...
This is good, because I think under the current system, the right to buy, so when a person buys a house via right to buy, the councils don't receive the money for, building new projects. I don't know if it goes central government or if it's ring fence for other things, but it's good that, if people buy their houses via right to buy, the councils can reinvest that money into other houses.
We'll build the biggest amount of affordable and social housing for a generation. You can't put an exact figure on each site because it very much depends on the viability and the size of the site and what becomes available. But we're very clear that home ownership needs to be delivered for those that have just had that dream snatched away from them, and we're going to deliver that.
And this, if it can be delivered, is a phenomenal goal. The problems they're running into is the fact that they have a problem with NIMBYs and they want to overall kind of NIMBYs. Another issue is the types of housing that they're going to produce. So you notice they say affordable home rather than affordable house. So you think a house typically is defined by, like 4 walls. Not, you can have a terrace house, a non-terrace house, whereas a home could be a flat, an apartment, or anywhere. And what we're seeing is kind of the rise of more sort of these former offices being turned into flats. And the amount of natural light and things that is needed to be needs to be adequate for these flats is not enough. If they're classed as student accommodation, they're even allowed to have less kind of natural light and things like that, which is just absurd, to be honest with you. So we're seeing this big kind of conversion of former office buildings, but there's no real, if you think an office is normally the bullpen design of, it's big open plan, whereas a flat is very much closed off. So how are you going to ensure there's enough natural light into these kind of flats? It doesn't really make sense unless you demolish them, which they've done with some of the buildings in the town centre where I live, and kind of just rebuild them from the ground up. I don't see how it could be possible to convert what was an office into sustainable, actual good housing. I don't think it's possible, and based on some of the things that I've seen, it doesn't look it. It's just ludicrous. But if Labour want to achieve their goal of 1.5 million homes, if they're going to do stuff like this, then it's not pointless, because at least then it does have benefits in terms of lowering the rental price of flats, increasing the supply of houses. But it's just not. You want, we're a so-called, developed country. You want people to be living in good conditions, rather than living in, really inadequate houses. And, you have health consequences as well, like for not getting enough natural light and things like that, and having poor ventilation. It doesn't make sense. And, we should aspire for, in my opinion, higher living standards in this country. At least that's my opinion anyways. I did hear someone trying to defend this kind of stuff, saying, well, if it helps Labour achieve their goal, then, I don't really see an issue with it. But then again, that person's a complete shill. So, they would say that, wouldn't they? Here you got the Lib Dems talking about kind of Labour's community plans, or, their planning permission.
I agree with, because we have a housing crisis. We need to build more houses. We need to target them. We need to make sure they are the right houses in the right place.
So this person is a Liberal Democrat. The Liberal Democrat are famously one of the more NIMBY parties of, they want to back things like HS2, but not HS2 in this specific constituency.
The point the gentleman made about the developers sitting on developments and them not being built is because at the moment we have basically a developer-led system where the developers want to build houses, they build houses. Now, the flaw I see in Labour's plan is that they're not actually following what communities want and communities need. We need to build the houses where the communities want them. Now, in Kingston, in Ed Davies' constituency at the moment, there's a project which has been completely community-led, Cambridge Road project, I think it's called. They're building 2,000 homes. They are redeveloping the area. They're building them where the community wants them, where the infrastructure is. That's what we need to be doing. And
that's a good idea. As long as the councils are responsible, I think partly for the infrastructure in certain areas, that's what it should be done. And if I were them, I would put in certain criteria of you need to have GP surgeries and things like that within a certain amount of people, things like that, per capita people.
The other problem with Angela's plan is that if she makes a decision in Whitehall, it's not community-led, it's not responding to what the community want, and it might be open to...
The thing is, though, the community, for the most part, they don't want more houses built because it kills their, it kills their housing amount. Like, you can set up criteria where, like homeowners can say, we don't have enough you don't have enough schools here or enough infrastructure or whatever, and there should be some sort of criteria where maybe councils or, residents can reject planning permission for new housing. But we can't have a situation where it's just, I don't want it, and they come up with nonsense reasons because they don't want to admit their house price is going to go down because there's more houses in the area. We can't be having that kind of system.
Do judicial review, and then we'll have more delays, and the houses that we desperately need will wait longer.
Yeah, the Lib Dems, the Greens are quite NIMBY as well, but I think the Lib Dems are the most NIMBY party. You got Piers Morgan kind of challenging Wes Streeting over this.
It's all going to happen. Sorry, Wes.
Oh, you really are the Grinch this Christmas, aren't you?
I don't want to be. I don't want to be the Grinch. It's just not going to happen in the same way that the promises we got from the Conservatives didn't happen.
2.5 million homes, Piers.
Yeah, but it wasn't what you said it was going to be, which was massively more. And you say 1.5 million by when?
By the end of this Parliament.
OK, great. Let's have a bet. £1.
Not this again. We've seen where this goes with all of your bets.
The British Prime Minister your guy, Rishi, didn't pay up in the end, but...
Yeah, Rishi lost his one. It's about Rwanda.
A pound to charity, £1 for every home you don't build up to 1.5 million by the end of the Parliament. You taking it?
Unlike Rishi Sunak, I don't have that kind of money, Piers.
Right, exactly. So you're admitting you're not going to hit the target, is my point. And look, I'll tell you a little story. Notre Dame. We all watched the amazing scene of Notre Dame.
So it's a bit of a one-way bet there, really. So what's the consequences for Piers there if Labour do build enough houses?
Being reopened. 5 years they rebuilt this incredible cathedral, and the world went down there, and it was amazing. And I remember walking near Notre Dame just after it had burned down. I thought, there's no way they're going to build that in 20 years. It looked destroyed. But they did it. They did it because they had a will to do it. Let me compare and contrast to an iconic monument in London, which is Hammersmith Bridge, which is near where I live. Hammersmith Bridge, in the same year, 2019, got cracks. So they stopped all cars going over the bridge. And 5 years later, it's still not got any cars. And we're being told it's going to be at least another 5 years. In fact, it may never reopen to cars. How can that be possible in a country like this, which used to be a world beater? We can't even repair cracks in a major bridge.
There is something wrong in the UK with regards to planning permission and things like that, and like doing like maintenance. What he's talking about, because I remember a story. One of my old lecturers was talking about how they wanted to build some sort of rail line. I can't remember which exact French cities it was. I was thinking it's like Marseille and Nice or something like that. Or I'm probably well off with the two I'm going for. But what they did was they wanted to go through one of the mountains. So what they did was they just put a giant hole in the mountain. Didn't really bother asking residents about it, things like that. They just wanted to get it done, right? Whether you think that's right or wrong, whatever, right? They decided, we're going to build this thing, this infrastructure, we need it, we're going to get it done. In the UK, it's just dither and delay, and it takes forever to get anything done. And by the time you're anywhere near getting anything done, the government changes or plans change, or you don't have enough money because of inflation and other kind of problems. It's just ludicrous to me. It doesn't make sense. When you look at HS2, right, other countries have had bullet trains for decades now. Japan famously, I think France and a couple other European countries have them as well. You think it's been probably over a decade since they kind of announced HS2, right? Barely any of it was built. They built it from London to Birmingham, which isn't that far if you look at the map, right? And just like, how did you mess this up so badly? They talked about the next kind of generation for like rail travel and things like that. how did you not manage to get anything off the ground? And that's the thing with this country. Like, they announce big plans and stuff, but they never have any kind of delivery mechanism for it. Like, when we look at this housing situation, right, Labour's plan for 1.5 million new homes is not feasible, a house building firm says. So Labour's plan to build 1.5 million homes during the Parliament is not achievable because of a severe skills shortage, an ageing workforce, and Brexit, the head of the largest house building company has said. The government outlined on Thursday how it would achieve the goal. The proposals within the revised national planning framework include individual targets for each planning authority and new skills that will allow for house building on poorer quality greenbelt land. And so the question you've got to ask yourself is there enough staff? No. Do we have the materials? No. And so where are you going to get them from? You need people that have the right certificates in to build, to be able to build on these properties, because you don't want people who are like, yeah, I'm a plumber, I know what I'm doing, and then do the most ridiculous plumbing job you've ever seen or electrical job you've ever seen. And what we know about these houses being built anyways, they're rubbish. A lot of these new builds are not good quality houses as is. So unless Labour's plan is to kind of deregulate the housing standards and things like that, I think there's a Welsh dude who goes around looking at if the new builds are even built properly, and he seems to have a lot of criticisms for them because they're not. The regulations we have now to make sure the houses are even adequate is not even there, and so you're going to throw in a load more new builds. It doesn't make sense. The Home Builders Federation told the BBC the UK does not have sufficient talent pipeline of builders. Saying most of the tradespeople are over the age of 50. Because the problem we had in the UK was like we pushed this idea that everyone should go into academics and only the dumb kids would do trades, which I think is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I've heard in Germany that when people get apprenticeships, it's celebrated. There's some sort of big deal over there. In here, the apprenticeship system is a joke, absolute joke. Like, they barely get paid enough to live on, and it takes years to kind of get fully trained in it. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't see why apprentices shouldn't be paid minimum wage at least. What kind of system do you have where you pay them below half minimum wage? If you have someone who joins, say, an office space, right, and they're training, you don't pay them half her salary until they're like fully trained. They get paid the normal salary or maybe slightly less until they get up to speed. Maybe they get a pay rise later on when they're a bit more experienced. But it's the most ridiculous system I've ever heard of in my life. And this is one of the reasons why if people can't afford to take on apprenticeships, why would they? There's a big push from schools to push kids into university. It's not a big push to push them into trade colleges. My nearest trade college is outside of town. Like, to get there, you have to take some dark bus. Some bus that rarely ever runs. Like, why wouldn't it have good trade schools within towns and cities? It doesn't make any sense. Like, these are the things that that are so important, and that's where I think this country's fumbled the most. This push towards academics and everyone to be write essays and stuff like that is fine, but you still need people to be able to do other stuff. It doesn't make sense. Like, they talk about trying to push people into coding and things like that, which is fine. The future is computers, but where are those coders going to live unless they're going to code themselves a house? Like, it doesn't make sense, honestly. And so I think Labour kind of really run into problems here. Like, the only way they're going to reach this housing target is through doing nonsense like this, and even then it's not going to be adequate, and I think they'll get called out on it. It's just crazy to me. And also, building all of these new homes, like Raina talking about affordable housing, which is good, but if it's just going to go to a load of landlords, it's not going to fix the fundamental problem, which is landlords and things like that. But I don't know. I'm kind of baffled that they've done this, set this stupid target when they won't set stupid targets for other things. But I do think that they're not going to reach this target, and they're going to get called on it, and it's going to be grim. Absolutely grim. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.